Have you ever heard of the World's Fair Hotel? From the outside, it looked like any other grand building in late 19th century Chicago. But behind its walls lay a labyrinth of horrors, a place so twisted, it earned the nickname Murder Castle, and the architect of this nightmare was a man named Dr. H. Holmes, a figure who would go down in history as one of America's first and most prolific serial killers. Today, we're diving deep into the chilling story of H. Holmes. Who was this man, and what drove him to create a building specifically designed for murder? Herman Webster Mudgett, who later adopted the alias Henry Howard Holmes, was born in 1861. By all accounts, he was exceptionally intelligent from a young age, showing a keen interest in medicine, but this interest had a dark side. As a medical student at the University of Michigan, he was already involved in shady dealings, stealing cadavers and using them to commit insurance fraud. This was just the beginning of a long and terrifying career built on deception and depravity. After graduating, he moved to Chicago in 1886. The city was bustling, gearing up for the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition, an event that would draw millions of people from around the globe. For Holmes, this was the perfect opportunity. He saw the influx of visitors, many of them young women traveling alone, as a goldmine. He found a job at a drugstore in the Englewood neighborhood. Soon after, the owner mysteriously disappeared, and Holmes took over the business. This was a pattern he would repeat. With the drugstore as his financial base, he purchased an empty lot across the street and began construction on a 3-story building that would become his infamous murder castle. This wasn't just any building. Holmes designed it himself, constantly hiring and firing construction crews so no one would understand the full, terrifying layout. The upper floors were a maze of over 100 rooms. There were windowless chambers, staircases that led to nowhere, and doors that opened onto brick walls. Many rooms were connected by secret passageways and chutes that dropped directly to the basement. Some rooms were even fitted with gas lines, allowing Holmes to asphyxiate his victims from the comfort of his own office. The ground floor of the building housed various storefronts, including his own relocated pharmacy, which lent an air of legitimacy to the entire operation. But the second and third floors were his personal hunting grounds. He advertised the building as the World's Fair Hotel, luring in unsuspecting tourists, as well as job applicants and lovers, with his charm and promises of a comfortable stay. Once they were inside, their fate was sealed. Holmes would trap his victims in his soundproofed airtight rooms. He could watch them through peepholes as they succumbed to poison gas or sheer terror. After they were dead, he would use the secret chutes to send their bodies down to the basement. And the basement. The basement was a laboratory of horrors. It was equipped with a dissecting table, a crematorium, and vats of acid. Here, Holmes would meticulously process the bodies of his victims. He would strip them of their flesh, clean their skeletons, and then sell the articulated skeletons to medical schools. He was not just a murderer. He was a businessman turning his gruesome acts into profit. He also continued his insurance scams, taking out policies on his victims before killing them. The World's Fair came and went in 1893, and as the crowds dispersed, Holmes's financial schemes began to unravel. Creditors were closing in, and the law was starting to take notice. So, he abandoned his castle of horrors and went on the run. His downfall began not because of the murders in Chicago, but because of a horse-swapping scam in Texas. This led to his arrest, but he managed to talk his way out of it. However, his luck was running out. He had concocted a major insurance fraud scheme with a man named Benjamin Petezel. The plan was for Petezel to fake his own death so they could collect the insurance money. But Holmes, true to his nature, decided to double-cross his partner. Instead of faking the death, he actually killed Petezel, but he didn't stop there. To tie up loose ends, Holmes then went on to murder 3 of Petezel's 5 children, Alice, Nellie, and Howard. This final, brutal act was what ultimately led to his capture. A Philadelphia detective named Frank Geyer was assigned to the case and painstakingly tracked Holmes across several states, uncovering the tragic fate of the Petezel children. In November 1894, H. Holmes was finally arrested in Boston. As investigators began to unravel his web of lies, they were led back to the Englewood building in Chicago. Police entered the murder castle and were horrified by what they found. They discovered the secret rooms, the gas pipes, the chutes, the crematorium, and a horrifying collection of human bones and personal belongings from countless victims. The press had a field day, dubbing the building the Murder Castle and painting Holmes as a modern-day Bluebeard, a monster in human form. During his trial, Holmes was a master of manipulation. He gave multiple confessions, each one different from the last, first claiming innocence, then admitting to 27 murders, and later expanding that number to over 130. He seemed to revel in the attention, playing games with the press and the public. The true number of his victims is still unknown. Because of his methods of disposing of the bodies, it's impossible to say for sure how many people lost their lives inside his hotel. Some estimates go as high as 200. The victims were mostly young women, lured by his charisma and the promise of a new life in the big city. On May 7, 1896, H. Holmes was hanged for the murder of Benjamin Petezel. Even in his final moments, He remained calm and composed. His last request was that his coffin be filled with cement and buried in an unmarked grave, supposedly to prevent grave robbers from dissecting his own body, just as he had done to so many others. The murder castle itself didn't stand for long. It was mysteriously gutted by a fire in 1895, shortly after Holmes's arrest. The remaining structure was finally torn down in 1938. Today a post office stands on the site where the House of Horrors once was, with no plaque or marker to commemorate the terrible events that took place there. The story of H. Holmes is a terrifying reminder of the darkness that can hide behind a charming facade. He was a product of his time, exploiting the anonymity and ambition of a rapidly growing city. He was intelligent, handsome, and utterly without conscience. He wasn't just a killer. He was a predator who built his own hunting ground, turning the American dream into a nightmare for anyone who crossed his path. His legacy is one of pure evil, a chilling chapter in the annals of true crime that continues to fascinate and horrify us to this day. What do you think is the most chilling aspect of the H. Holmes case? The design of the castle, his manipulation, or the fact that we'll never know the true number of victims? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history's most compelling mysteries. See you next time.